Welcome to What's Trending from South by Southwest Interactive. That's what I'm talking about. We are coming to you live from the Samsung Blogger Lounge at South by Southwest. And our first guest today, Jason Silva, filmmaker and futurist extraordinaire. You've probably seen his amazing videos on YouTube. He's now here to share all his insights today. Thank you so much for being here. Give it up for Jason Silva.
Oh, thanks.
Who I've known for years and has evolved so much.
Oh, that's so nice.
You started at Current TV, and when that was done.
Yeah, I mean, I came on board Current when we first launched in 2005, and it was all about citizen journalism, short-form content, you know, giving a voice to the voiceless and so on and so forth. So I fell in love with short-form content, and when I left Current almost 2 years ago now, I kind of felt like the time was right to kind of create my own media on the web. I felt like people weren't going to like roll their eyes at me if I was like, yeah, I'm creating content and putting it online, you know, because it used to be that it was like not really legitimate to do that. People were like, oh, you're not really serious
who's
about
paying
making
you?
media.
Why would you be doing that yourself?
Right, exactly. So I started doing these videos that were really a reflection of my philosophical sensibilities at the time. I'm kind of a TED junkie. I've been going to the TED conference. I'm in love with the idea of ideas worth spreading. I mean, that meme, the meme of just spreading big ideas was something that I became enamored by, and I felt like I could make a contribution to that conversation. And so I started doing these videos, which I call shots of philosophical espresso. And basically they take an aerial view looking at the landscape of what's called the coevolution of humans and technology. So it looks at the ways in which humans in symbiosis with our tools continue to sort of rewrite what it means to be human and extend our boundaries beyond all previous limits.
The idea of singularity, which I know has inspired you.
Very much so.
And how did this come about, though? I mean, you must have done a lot of reading. That finally that light bulb was like, oh, I could put all these ideas into a video and express it to maybe a broader audience.
Yeah, I mean, I read Kurzweil's book, The Singularity is Near, When Humans Transcend Biology, and I fell in love with the ideas because, I mean, here was a guy saying that the most amazing phenomenon in the universe is intelligence, and that increasingly what human beings do with our brains and our opposable thumbs is that we're impregnating matter with intelligence. We take in matter of low organization, put it through the filters of the brain, and pop out iPhones, cameras, jet engines. I mean, and so he looks at intelligence as this kind of evolutionary phenomenon that transcends all previous limits. It was this message of optimism, but it's data driven, right? He's looking at these exponential growth curves. He's looking at the past to make predictions about the future. And he's pointing out these counterintuitive insights into the nature of exponential progress that most of us are not privy to because we have these linear local brains that we can't wrap our heads around the pace of technological innovation. And I thought that that's an idea that is primed to be sort of to wax rhapsodic about, so to speak. Like I felt like, okay, this is great, but this is something that scientists are talking about in like academic settings. What about getting, you know, young people, wider audiences to engage with these big philosophical ideas the way you might, you know, at 1 in the morning in your college dorm after Existentialism 101, and you're like, oh my God, the human condition, the universe, what does this mean? So I thought,
what college were you going to?
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I have a natural kind of proclivity. I'm attracted to these kinds of ideas already because of my personality, I guess. And so I kind of felt like if I can turn my love affair with these memes into a visual art form and make it shareable, that maybe it had a place in the sort of marketplace and the currency of inspiration that we see on the web. And so I was like, that was the experiment. And then it just blew up.
And why do you think that people were so intrigued by it and wanting to share it?
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of the times people say, you know, your videos are so inspiring, and I laugh because what I'm thinking to myself is, I think what they're really saying is, I'm so inspired when I'm doing it. Like, I get inspired by those ideas.
And they could feel
and
that.
I'm trying to convey how inspired I am. So it's not about being inspiring, it's rather about being inspired, going inwards and figuring out what moves me, what puts me in a state of awe and bliss, what elevates my understanding of the human condition and of what's possible for mankind when we look at technology and disruption and where are we heading as a society and so on and so forth. And I was like, to go deep, you know, to kind of enter, you know, almost like a trance of contemplation, you know, or obsessive rumination or something like that. And then translating that. And then I think what people see is they're seeing me like genuinely kind of in an ecstatic state. You know, I tell people that my videos are souvenirs from an ecstatic state. Inspiration is so fleeting. You know, I said this in my speech yesterday, like moments of profound inspiration, moments that reset us and decontextualize the self are moments that are defined by their impermanence. They're these like little snippets of insight that we have that can change everything if we happen to have a pen or a camera around to write it down. So I'm trying to capture those fleeting moments. So there's an element of like a desire for control, a desire for ownership, a desire to bottle inspiration, and especially at a place like this where we're talking about technology and entertainment and design and the future and creativity. I think that's what, that's what creative people are trying to do. They're bottling inspiration and translating into something tangible that can turn into a new product or into a breakthrough, or in this case, into a video that can inspire people.
Yeah, and I think we always try to figure out, how do we get to that point? Is there a way to create a moment to be inspired, like, or force,
to engineer
inspiration?
Yeah. Well, I think places like this, you have these meeting of the minds, you bring together all this intelligentsia, all these creative people, you're kind of creating a fertile ground for engineering serendipity.
Yeah.
I think one of the most interesting lines about serendipity is you look for something, you find something else, and you realize that what you found is more conducive to your needs than what you thought you were looking for. That's more likely to happen at a place like this. You're more likely to get really inspired at a place like this because of those unexpected collisions, those unexpected encounters, and that can trigger like a butterfly effect in thought. That all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay, I have a new idea of what I want to do next.
That's why they say travel helps with all those ideas. Like, people get their best ideas when they're on a plane sometimes, even those brainstorms.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the whole thing about travel is about removing yourself, pulling yourself out of context. There's a guy called Tom Robbins who was actually writing about psychedelic experience and transpersonal change.
Yeah.
And psychedelic therapy or whatever. And he was saying that the teacher plants, in this case, he was talking about what Terence McKenna, Timothy Leary, all those guys talk about.
I love you get these names. Yes.
No, but basically what he says is that you can't, these tools, whether it's the mental trips of psychedelics or meditation or yoga, or the physical trips of getting on a plane and going across the world, what these things do is that they don't manufacture more imagination, more creativity, more wonderment, but what these tools can do is pull us out of context in such a dramatic manner that then nudges us to end up gawking in amazement at what might otherwise be the ubiquitous everyday wonders we're disposed to ignore. It's like that funny Louis C.K. video where he's making fun of people that are on the airplane complaining the Wi-Fi doesn't work. And he's like, dude, you're on a chair in the sky flying. You know what I mean? Like, I think that one of the sort of, I guess our own brains are so quick to assimilate novelty. Like, on the one hand, we're addicted to novelty. We're addicted to the new. It floods us with dopamine. It makes us keep seeking for the next thrill. The problem is that as soon as we're saturated with the new, it becomes the old, just like that. And we almost no longer notice it. So, it's like, when was the last time you marveled at your smartphone? When was the last time you marveled even at the people in your lives that you take for granted? I mean, this is the problem with our brains and hedonic adaptation, is that something might give us a thrill for 5 minutes and then it's been there, done that, on to the next thing. And in an age of such innovation as today, it's like that's getting amplified because we just want more, better, faster, newer.
Yeah.
So.
And it's interesting because you've really created a whole brand out of this. And from that one video that jump-started an entire new career path for you.
Yeah.
And so then at that point, where did you decide to go? And you've continued these videos.
Yeah.
And at that point, is there pressure to keep on creating these incredible videos that can share and spread and go, quote-unquote, viral? Yeah.
Well, one of the things I was really inspired by a documentary series called Everything is a Remix, which was incidentally went viral. But it was a series that talked about how there's really no original ideas. There's only remixes. There's remixes of other ideas. Ideas fuse, they recombine. You explore the adjacent possible, and you see how you can turn something into something else. And so, what I liked about that was that I could become myself kind of an idea DJ, so to speak. I love that. I could remix and reinterpret some of the thinkers that had inspired me, and that was my way of paying it forward. So if I was attending TED and I saw Matt Ridley talk about ideas having sex, then I could quote Matt Ridley when I did a video about ideas having sex, and then connect that to the ideas of Stephen Johnson, where he's talking about creating spaces of innovation. And I was like, okay, so Stephen Johnson is saying spaces of innovation. Matt Ridley says spaces where ideas can have sex. They're both saying the same thing. And then I could link that to the ideas maybe of Terence McKenna, and I could just do this kind of intellectual idea remixing that was really fun. And the very nature of the videos themselves, they are mashups. I mean, they mash up images and music and stock footage. I mean, so it's remixing ideas and remixing images and just remixing, entering like a vortex.
And I think you've proven that, in the YouTube and online video space, that things can be shared that aren't just lolcats and babies and those random moments, that people are interested in deeper thinking.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because we're working in current TV Current TV was trying really hard to take this high road of like interesting, amazing content. And they were like, you know, the low road is crowded, the high road is wide open, you know. But Current struggled in hitting a critical mass and getting itself out there. And maybe it's because, you know, the web wasn't fully taken advantage of. You know, Current was a cable network after all, even though they started to be revolutionary online. You know, so. But for me, you know, I think again the TED model, the success of ideas worth spreading, the virality of TED Talks shows that there is an audience that's hungry for stimulation, that's hungry for inspiration, that doesn't want to be talked down to. And for me, that was just awesome because, like, all right, so I get to geek out. I get to be, like, cerebral and heady. I don't have to dumb myself down to please anyone, you know? And so I just felt that, you know, given the success of what the TED model has created, I thought, okay, there's space to create content that stimulates and that provokes. And also, you know, because attention, again, is the new limited resource, I think the content can't ask for too much of people's time. So that's why I keep my videos to 2 minutes. So it's like, it's, you know, it's an espresso shot. It's quick, it's concentrated, it's idea dense. Hopefully it inspires you to spread it. You can always watch it again. That'll be 4 minutes instead of 2 minutes of your time. So it's not really a big deal. You know? It's not it doesn't ask too much of you in terms of, you know, space and time. But it hopefully, you know, it goes in there like an inception and then changes you from inside out.
And now it also helped you get a gig with National Geographic for this show, Brain Games, which is coming out soon. Yes,
that was kind of a thrill. The showrunner of Brain Games had contacted me, and he was like, you know, Brain Games was a sort of a 3-part miniseries that did really well in National Geographic, a series of interactive experiments and installations that through which you can, at home, you can play along and participate and then learn about the brain as you watch, and it's really cool. And so then they decided, let's spin it into a full series, 12 episodes, and then they wanted to bring a host involved. So the previous iteration didn't have a host. Now they hired me. And so we've spent the last couple months shooting the episodes, and we're all done now, and it premieres next month in April. This is Brain Games. It'll be seen globally on Nat Geo channels.
Nice. Well, you're already global, so thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
To share and spread your ideas. Give it up for Jason Silva.
Oh, thank you.
Follow him on Twitter. At Jason Silva. We will continue live coverage from the Samsung Blogger Lounge at South by Southwest Interactive. Next up, we have John Cena, who's going to be taking on the stage, so look out for him. Tweet us your questions at What's Trending, #Samsung SXSW. We'll see you in a few moments.